Adrian Wolfe adjusted his visor against the stinging sandstorm as he climbed over the jagged rocks of Onerous IV. The desert planet was lifeless except for the occasional whisper of wind. But Adrian knew better. The quiet was a lie. Something ancient and powerful lay buried here, waiting to be found. Behind him, his alien companion, Kayari, kept a nervous eye on the horizon. Her blue skin shimmered faintly under the pale light of the twin suns. "I still think this is a bad idea," she muttered, gripping her plasma rifle tightly. "It's always a bad idea," Adrian replied, a faint smile playing on his lips. He brushed away the sand from a half-buried symbol etched into the rock. But bad ideas are where the best treasures hide. Kayari glanced at the strange markings. "That doesn't look like any script I've seen." "What is it?" Adrian's fingers traced the lines. "Human. Old human." He paused, then added softly, "Very old." The wind howled louder as they worked their way down into a canyon. The deeper they went, the darker it became, as if the planet itself wanted to swallow them whole. Finally, they reached the entrance of a massive structure carved into the rock. The doorway was overgrown with alien moss, but it still bore the unmistakable mark of humanity, a starburst symbol etched above the arch. Kayari hesitated. "This isn't just a ruin, is it? It's something else." Adrian didn't answer. He pressed his hand to the doorway, and with a low hum, the massive stone slab slid aside. A rush of stale air escaped, carrying with it the weight of centuries. They stepped inside. The cathedral was vast, its ceilings stretching so high they disappeared into shadows. Pillars lined the hall, glowing faintly with an inner light that pulsed as Adrian moved. At the center of the room stood a pedestal holding a strange metallic device. It looked almost like a box, but it was covered in intricate patterns that seemed to shift and move under the light. "That's it," Adrian whispered, his voice echoing in the chamber. "The relic." Kayari's grip on her rifle tightened. "We shouldn't touch it. Things like this always come with a price." Adrian ignored her warning. He stepped forward, drawn to the relic as if it were calling his name. The moment his hand touched its surface, the entire cathedral came alive. Lights blazed, symbols appeared on the walls, and a deep, mechanical voice echoed through the hall. IDENTITYCONFIRMED. HUMANACCESS Kayari stumbled back, eyes wide. What did it just say? Adrian didn't respond. The relic began to glow, and images flooded his mind, ancient battles, towering human ships, and a galaxy trembling under their power. He saw humans as conquerors, builders, and destroyers. And then he saw the truth. This relic wasn't just a tool. It was a key. The visions faded, leaving Adrian gasping for air. The relic pulsed in his hands, as if alive. "It's a beacon," he said, realization dawning on him. "A message for anyone who can find it." Kayari's voice was sharp. "A message to who?" Before Adrian could answer, the ground shook violently. Dust rained down from the ceiling as a deep rumble echoed through the canyon outside. Kayari's communicator crackled to life. "Multiple ships inbound," a voice reported. "They're heading straight for your location." Adrian cursed under his breath. "They must have been tracking us. The moment I activated this thing, it sent out a signal." Kayari's eyes narrowed. "You've doomed us both." "Not yet," Adrian shot back. He grabbed the relic and shoved it into his pack. "We're not sticking around to find out what they want." The two of them sprinted out of the cathedral as the rumbling grew louder. When they emerged into the canyon, they saw the source of the noise, 3 massive alien dropships descending from the sky. Their sleek, black hulls shimmered with plasma energy. "They don't look friendly," Kayari said, raising her rifle. Adrian pulled out a small device from his belt and pressed a button. A holographic map appeared, showing a hidden cave system nearby. "We make it to the caves, we lose them. Stick close." They ran as plasma fire rained down around them. The air sizzled with heat as explosions tore through the ground. Adrian glanced back to see alien soldiers disembarking, their glowing weapons aimed at him. "They're not after you," Kayari said. "They're after that thing in your pack." All the more reason to keep running, Adrian replied. They dove into the caves just as another blast shook the ground. Darkness swallowed them, but Adrian activated a small light on his wristband. The tunnels twisted and turned, and the sound of pursuit grew faint. Finally, they stopped to catch their breath. Kairi leaned against the wall, glaring at Adrian. You need to get rid of it. Whatever that relic is, it's not worth your life. Adrian shook his head. It's not just a relic. It's a piece of who we are. Something the galaxy doesn't want us to remember. Kairi's expression softened, but her voice was still firm. And if it gets you killed, Adrian looked at the glowing relic in his hands, its light reflecting in his eyes. Then it'll be worth it. Darien Wolf stood in the heart of the ancient cathedral, staring at the strange metallic device in front of him. Its surface shimmered, reflecting the faint light from the glowing pillars that lined the walls. Kairi, his alien companion, stood a few steps behind him, her hand resting on her plasma rifle. She didn't trust the thing, and, truthfully, neither did Adrian. What is it? Kairi asked, her voice low and tense. Adrian shook his head. I'm not sure. But it's human, or at least made by humans a long, long time ago. He crouched down, running his fingers over the device's surface. The patterns etched into it seemed to shift under his touch, as though alive. Whatever it is, it's been waiting here for someone like me. Kairi's eyes narrowed. That doesn't make me feel better. Before Adrian could respond, the device emitted a soft hum. The air around it seemed to thrum with energy, and then a voice echoed through the chamber. It was deep, mechanical, and spoke in a language neither of them recognized at first. Adrian froze, his heart pounding. The voice wasn't just speaking. It was talking to him. UMANPRESEENCEDA INITEATINGPROTOCOL7. Kairi raised her rifle, aiming at the device. What did it just say? Is it alive? Adrian held up a hand to stop her. It's not alive. It's something else. He leaned closer, trying to make sense of the words. As the voice continued, his translator implant began to catch up, turning the alien language into something he could understand. You're speaking to an interface of the First Galactic Dominion, the machine said. Identify yourself. Adrian hesitated. The title sounded familiar, like something he'd read in one of the forbidden human archives. But it was impossible. The First Galactic Dominion was supposed to be a myth, a story passed down to scare children. Still, he answered. Adrian Wolf, relic hunter. Human. The machine paused, its lights flickering as if processing his response. Then it spoke again. You are the first of your kind to activate this system in over 12,000 cycles. Accessing memory archives. Kairi's voice was sharp. Adrian, we need to leave. This thing is dangerous. You don't know what it's doing. That's exactly why I'm staying, Adrian replied, his eyes fixed on the device. If this is what I think it is, it could change everything. The machine's voice returned, this time softer, almost mournful. The Dominion fell. Humanity disappeared. But the echoes remain. Adrian's breath caught. He stepped closer. What do you mean? What echoes? The machine responded with a projection. Light burst from its surface, forming a holographic display in the air. Adrian and Kairi watched as images of ancient battles unfolded. Massive human ships clashed with alien fleets, their weapons tearing through the void. Planets burned, entire systems vanished, and amidst it all, humans stood victorious. But the victories came at a cost. The First Galactic Dominion was the height of human power, the machine said. But power breeds enemies. They united against you, a coalition of every known species. The war ended in silence. Humanity vanished. Kairi's face was pale. Adrian, this isn't just a relic. It's a grave marker. Adrian's mind raced. The machine's words made sense, but they didn't answer the most important question. If humanity vanished, he said, then why am I here? Why did this relic respond to me? The machine hesitated again, its lights dimming. You are the remnant. The genetic echo. Humanity's legacy was buried, hidden away to protect the galaxy. But the signal has been sent. They know you are here. Adrian's stomach sank. Who knows? Before the machine could answer, the ground beneath them trembled. A deep rumble echoed through the cathedral, followed by the sound of explosions in the distance. Kayari spun around, her rifle at the ready. "We've got company," she said. "And I'm betting they're not here to help." Adrian grabbed the relic, its surface cool under his hands. "We're not leaving without it." Kayari glared at him. "This thing just told you it's a death sentence, and you still want to keep it?" "It's not just a relic," Adrian shot back. "It's a piece of history. Our history." The explosions grew louder, closer. Adrian stuffed the relic into his pack and pulled out his sidearm. "Let's move." They sprinted through the cathedral, the pulsing lights guiding their path. Behind them, the sound of alien voices echoed, sharp and guttural. Adrian didn't need to understand the language to know they were out for blood. As they reached the entrance, Adrian stopped and turned back. The cathedral's lights were fading, the relic's energy dimming as if it had said all it needed to say. "We'll come back," he whispered. "I'll figure out the rest." Kayari grabbed his arm. "If we live that long." They disappeared into the storm outside, the relic's weight heavy on Adrian's shoulders. Somewhere, in the vastness of space, others had heard the signal. And Adrian knew this was just the beginning. The grand chamber of the Galactic Council was silent, its vaulted ceiling arching high above, adorned with intricate carvings of long-forgotten events. Representatives of countless species filled the rows of seats, their expressions tense. At the center of it all stood Captain Elise Carter, a human. She was out of place, and she knew it. Humans rarely had a presence here. The council viewed her kind as newcomers, barely worth notice. Yet today, all eyes were on her. "Captain Carter," boomed the voice of Chancellor Orcs, a towering reptilian figure with scales that glimmered under the chamber's pale light. "You have brought a grave accusation against this council. State your evidence." Elise took a deep breath and stepped forward. She knew the risks. Challenging the council's integrity was dangerous, but she had no choice. The truth she carried was too important to ignore. "Honorable Chancellor," Elise began, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "I have obtained evidence that members of this council have been secretly conspiring to manipulate the balance of power in the galaxy. They've been funding outlaw factions, fueling wars, and sabotaging peace efforts." A murmur rippled through the chamber. The council members exchanged uneasy glances, their expressions a mix of shock and indignation. Oravac's eyes narrowed. "These are serious claims, Captain. What proof do you have?" Elise reached into her satchel and pulled out a small, crystalline device. She held it up for all to see. "This contains encrypted transmissions, financial records, and direct orders tied to several council members. The data is undeniable." The chamber erupted into chaos. Voices clashed, some demanding an immediate investigation, others shouting for her arrest. Elise stood her ground, her hand tightening around the crystal. She had expected this reaction, but it didn't make it any easier to face. Silence. Oravac's voice thundered, and the chamber fell quiet. His gaze bore into Elise. "How did you come by this information, Captain?" Elise hesitated. This was the part she had dreaded. Revealing her source would put lives at risk, but without transparency, the council would dismiss her claims. "Finally," she said, "the information was provided by a high-ranking informant. Someone within the council itself." The murmurs returned, louder this time. The idea of a traitor among them sent shockwaves through the assembly. Oravac's expression darkened. "And who is this informant?" Before Elise could answer, the lights in the chamber flickered. A low hum filled the air, and then the main door slammed shut with a resounding boom. The room plunged into darkness for a brief moment before emergency lights bathed it in an eerie red glow. "What is the meaning of this?" Oravax demanded, his voice echoing through the chamber. A voice rang out from the shadows, cold and mechanical. "The council's secrets were never meant to see the light. Captain Carter, you should have stayed silent." Elise's heart raced. She recognized the voice. It belonged to the Executor, the Council's mysterious enforcer. No one knew what the Executor truly was: a machine, a being, or something in between. What was clear was its role: to eliminate threats to the Council's authority. "Show yourself," Elise demanded, drawing her sidearm. The Executor stepped into the dim light, its form sleek and imposing. Its metallic body glinted, and its glowing red eyes locked onto Elise. "You have overstepped, human. The Council's unity must be preserved at all costs." Elise raised her weapon, but before she could fire, the Executor moved with impossible speed. It knocked the gun from her hand and grabbed her by the throat, lifting her off the ground. Around them, Council members shouted in panic, some fleeing while others cowered in their seats. "Release her," Oravax commanded, rising to his full height. The Executor hesitated, its grip loosening slightly. "Chancellor, this human threatens the foundation of the Council. She cannot be allowed to proceed." "The Council will decide her fate," Oravax said firmly. "Not you." The Executor's eyes flickered, as though considering its options. Then, without warning, it threw Elise to the ground and turned toward Oravax. "You are a fool, Chancellor. You cling to order while your council crumbles from within." Elise coughed, struggling to her feet. She reached into her satchel again and pulled out a small device. Activating it, she projected the data onto the chamber's walls. The evidence was laid bare: names, transactions, and messages implicating several council members. Gasps filled the room as the truth was revealed. "This is treason," one of the representatives whispered, horrified. Oravax's expression was unreadable as he turned to the accused members. "Is this true?" One of them, a thin, pale alien named Vresh, stood up. His voice was calm but defiant. "The galaxy needs control, Chancellor. Chaos is inevitable without guidance. We did what was necessary." Oravax's gaze hardened. "You betrayed the very principles this council was founded on." The Executor, still watching, let out a low, mechanical laugh. "Your council is a lie. Unity is an illusion." Elise clenched her fists. "Maybe it is. But the galaxy deserves to know the truth. They deserve a chance to decide for themselves." Oravax nodded slowly. "Captain Carter, you have done this council a great service, though at great risk to yourself. This matter will be dealt with. But know this, the road ahead will not be easy." Elise met his gaze. "It never is." Commander Leora Hayes stood on the bridge of her ship, the starbound horizon, staring at the holographic display in front of her. The image showed the outline of a massive vessel buried deep within the asteroid field. Its sheer size dwarfed anything the galaxy had seen in centuries. The crew whispered nervously behind her, their voices a mix of awe and fear. "It's real," Leora said quietly, her voice filled with both disbelief and determination. "The dreadnought exists." Her first officer, Lieutenant Vega, stepped closer. "Commander, if the reports are true, this ship was designed as the ultimate weapon during the Galactic War. Do you really think it's still operational after all this time?" Leora's jaw tightened. "That's what we're here to find out. If someone else gets their hands on it, the balance of power in the galaxy could shift overnight." The starbound horizon crept closer to the asteroid field, its shields shimmering as small fragments of rock bounced off. The dreadnought's outline became clearer with every passing moment. It was enormous, a relic from a time when humanity had built machines not for exploration, but for domination. "Sensors are picking up faint energy readings," Vega said, his voice tense. "It's still alive." Leora felt a chill run down her spine. "Bring us in." Slowly. "And keep the weapons ready." As the ship maneuvered through the dense field, the dreadnought came into full view. Its hull was covered in centuries of debris and battle scars, but its design was unmistakable. Rows of massive cannons lined its sides, and the faint glow of ancient power cores pulsed from within. "This thing could destroy entire fleets," Vega muttered, staring at the monster of a ship. "Whoever commanded it must have been unstoppable." Leora nodded, her eyes fixed on the dreadnought. "And whoever commands it now will be just as dangerous." A sudden alarm blared through the starbound horizon. "Commander!" shouted Ensign Marlowe from the communications station. "We're detecting a ship on an intercept course." "It's heavily armed." Lyora turned sharply. On screen, the holographic display shifted to show a sleek, predatory vessel cutting through the asteroid field with precision. Its black hull reflected no light. "Pirates!" Vega spat. "They must have been tracking us." "They're not just pirates," Lyora said grimly. "That's a Black Sun Syndicate ship. They know about the Dreadnought, too." The Syndicate was infamous for seizing powerful technology and selling it to the highest bidder. If they got control of the Dreadnought, the galaxy would descend into chaos. "Shields up," Lyora ordered. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers. We're not letting them get to that ship." The starbound horizons sprang into action. The crew moved with practiced efficiency, their training kicking in as the Syndicate ship opened fire. Bright streaks of plasma lit up the asteroid field, narrowly missing the horizon as it weaved between the floating rocks. "Return fire," Lyora commanded. "Target their engines." The horizon's cannons roared to life, sending volleys of energy toward the enemy ship. Explosions rippled across the Syndicate's hull, but it remained relentless, closing the distance between them. "They're trying to force us out of the field," Vega said. "If we leave, we'll lose the Dreadnought." Lyora gritted her teeth. "Then we stay. But we need to get to the Dreadnought before they do." The horizon dived deeper into the field, the Dreadnought looming larger with every second. But the Syndicate ship was faster, its sleek design allowing it to maneuver through the debris with ease. It was only a matter of time before they caught up. "Commander," Marlowe called out, "the Dreadnought systems are activating." I think it's responding to our presence." Lyora's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" "The energy readings are spiking. It's powering up." A low hum filled the air as the Dreadnought came to life. Its lights flickered on, casting an eerie glow across the asteroid field. The massive cannons began to move, aiming toward the Syndicate ship. "It's targeting them," Vega said, astonished. "But how?" "It must recognize us as human," Lyora guessed. "This ship was built by our ancestors. Maybe it's programmed to protect us." The Dreadnought fired. A beam of energy so powerful it seemed to tear the fabric of space itself shot out, striking the Syndicate ship. The enemy vessel exploded in a brilliant flash, debris scattering in all directions. The bridge of the horizon fell silent as the crew stared at the Dreadnought. Its cannons powered down, and the hum faded, but its presence remained overwhelming. "It saved us," Vega said, his voice barely above a whisper. Lyora took a deep breath, her mind racing. "For now. But we can't leave it here. If anyone else finds this ship—" She didn't need to finish the sentence. The consequences were clear. "Prepare a boarding team," she ordered. "We're going to secure the Dreadnought." As the crew sprang into action, Lyora couldn't shake the feeling that they had only just begun to uncover the secrets of the hidden Dreadnought. And whatever those secrets were, they would change the galaxy forever. Rain poured down relentlessly, drenching the dark city streets. The flickering neon lights reflected off the puddles, creating a distorted glow. Kira Daniels pulled her hood tighter around her face, blending into the shadows as she made her way toward the meeting point. Her heart pounded, but she couldn't let fear stop her now. This was her only chance. She arrived at the abandoned factory on the outskirts of the city. Its massive, rusted doors groaned as she pushed them open. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of oil and decay. She could hear faint footsteps echoing in the distance. Someone was already here. "You're late," a voice said from the shadows. It was deep and calm, but there was an edge to it that made Kira's skin crawl. "Traffic," she replied, forcing a smirk. Her voice betrayed none of the unease she felt. From the darkness emerged a man dressed in a sleek black suit. His sharp features and piercing gray eyes were unnerving. This was Anton Voss, the leader of the Syndicate, a powerful underground network that thrived on secrets and fear. Behind him stood two armed guards, their faces emotionless. "You're brave to come here," Voss said, circling her slowly. "Or maybe just desperate." Kira crossed her arms. "You know why I'm here." Do you have the data? Voss chuckled, a low, sinister sound. Straight to the point. I like that. Yes, I have what you're looking for. But the question is, what are you willing to give in return? Kira's stomach churned. She had prepared for this, but now that she was face to face with Voss, the weight of her decision felt crushing. I'll give you what you want. But first, let me see the data. Voss raised an eyebrow, amused. He snapped his fingers, and one of his guards stepped forward, holding a small, sleek device. The guard activated it, projecting a hologram into the air. It showed detailed schematics and encrypted files, the stolen plans of Project Lumina, a top-secret government weapon capable of mass destruction. Kira's breath caught. She had hoped the rumors were exaggerated, but the reality was worse than she imagined. If the Syndicate gained control of this weapon, millions would suffer. Impressive, isn't it? Voss said, watching her reaction closely. The government's most dangerous secret right here. And you want to take it from me. So tell me, Kira, what's your offer? Kira hesitated. This was the moment of truth. She reached into her jacket and pulled out a small vial filled with a glowing blue liquid. Voss's eyes widened slightly, the first crack in his otherwise calm demeanor. Is that? He began, but Kira cut him off. The catalyst. The catalyst was a revolutionary energy source, capable of powering entire cities with a single drop. It was priceless, and in the wrong hands, it could become a weapon of unimaginable power. Kira had stolen it from her own lab, knowing it was the only thing valuable enough to bargain with. Voss stepped closer, his interest piqued. You're willing to trade this for the data? That's quite the gamble, Kira. Do you even know what you're doing? I know exactly what I'm doing, she said firmly. This ends here. No one else gets hurt. Voss studied her for a long moment, then nodded. Very well. A trade it is. He gestured to his guard, who handed the holographic device to Kira. She quickly scanned the files, ensuring they were genuine. Satisfied, she held out the vial. Voss reached for it, but she pulled back slightly. One condition, she said. You destroy the data once you have the catalyst. Voss smirked. You're in no position to make demands. Then the deal's off, Kira shot back, her voice steady. You can kill me, but you won't get this. The tension in the room was palpable. Voss's guards shifted uneasily, their fingers hovering near their weapons. Finally, Voss laughed, a genuine sound this time. You've got guts. I'll give you that. Fine. The data will be destroyed. He snapped his fingers again, and the second guard produced a small incineration device. The guard placed a copy of the data into it and activated the machine. In seconds, the files were reduced to ash. Kira handed over the catalyst, her hands trembling slightly. Voss examined it with a satisfied smile. A pleasure doing business with you, Kira. Let's hope we don't meet again. She turned and walked away, her steps quick but steady. As she stepped back into the rain, a weight lifted from her chest. The data was safe, and the catalyst was gone, but so was the leverage she had against the Syndicate. Kira knew she had made a dangerous choice. But in a world where every decision carried risk, she had chosen the one that could save lives. Now, she could only hope it was enough.